right? So, I guess we're on air, so I'll tell you. My name's Tim Dambrick, and this is Georgina Speaks. This is what I do. And I'm here today with Perry Aabo. Aabo, is it?
Aabo.
Aabo. Well, there you go.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I'll answer to
You
anything.
can call it worse.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the purpose of there's a couple reasons I want to interview you. Number one is because you're a real driving force in support for local talent, local music, local artists, the whole 9 yards, and you've been that for quite some time, and you have quite a reputation for contributing regardless of your personal outcome out of it. Like you'll support people no matter what, best way that you can, and then if something good comes of it, great. You know, like always, yeah. The getting is in the giving, or something. Is this expression? What am I on now?
Well, you're falling in the crack.
I hate when that happens. There we are.
There you go. You don't like just
So-
falling over.
The first thing I wanted to we have different musical families. Like I belong to the York Region Georgina music family. I like to think that I do anyway, and considered welcome there, and I'm supported, and I'm grateful for that. And you have a huge York Region and beyond musical family, and I was thinking about it last night. My support in Cuba is like, 100 musicians that I know there, that I've worked with, that I support. I love Cuban music. I love, just everything about Cuban culture and so on. So that's my focus. But I wanted to start the interview with a few names. We'll name names. How's that?
Okay, that's fine with me.
Well, people like
I
Mike.
know names.
Yeah, people like Mike that come out every Thursday night. Sean comes out every Thursday night. The Brothers Good that comes out every Thursday night. Your whole musical family. And I was down to the Lions a week and a half ago or something like that. 2 weeks ago? When was Laura Lee? Last weekend? No, 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
Today, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I just showed up, and like they just said, "Oh yeah, you gotta get up and play now." She threw a guitar in my hand and said, "Get up there." 100%. So I don't even have words for what that kind of support means.
Well, the community, our community, the Georgina specifically, is a huge musical community.
Yep.
And all the surrounding areas. I think a lot stronger than many other areas, just because it spans a large physical area.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people who love music in our area. So it's good to be part of that family from my point of view.
Yeah, no kidding. You know what I noticed too? Is it just me, or does it seem to be like a real resurgence of local live music, open mics, that kind of stuff since COVID?
I believe, in my opinion, COVID was sort of the break-over point. We were seeing a lot of stuff going on as
Right.
far as live music, but it became just the same old over and over again. It was the same small group of bands
Right.
who were ruling the area. Newcomers were having a difficult time getting into it because all the stages have been basically prominently the same group of people playing over and over again.
Right.
COVID sort of broke that chain, I believe, and I think it allowed us to get away from the digital, same old DJ stuff in the clubs.
Yeah.
People were happy to interact in person again. And
Yeah,
I
nice.
think live music is a large part of personal interaction, because you can feel connected with the person who's playing and the person who's performing in front of you.
Yeah.
I've noticed that the smaller scale performances have really taken off, and part of that because stages has shrunk and the ability to entertain large bands has shrunk.
Right.
Venues, a lot of the venues that were doing bigger stuff are no longer able to do the big stuff anymore as well. So
Yeah.
there's been a reduction in venues available, which also means there's a reduction in available stage space. So that means smaller groups, smaller artists, new artists have a new foothold. And I'm happy to see that, because I
Yeah,
want to
me
see the
too.
new people come out, not the same people who've been doing it over and over
It's
again
kind of
forever.
like, I've noticed about the public too, it seems, and I'm a neophyte in any of this. I've never been an entertainer in my life, and so I just always play guitar and stuff, and then in recent years I decided, okay, I'm gonna record some, I just decided to do it, and I love the life that I have
Right.
in this capacity, but it seems like the general public, they don't have a connection anymore to famous rock bands and famous, like, not like it used to be. That was proliferated every day on the radio and on the TV and on, so now they're getting out and connecting with local bands and watching them all with all their warts and their mistakes and loving it, like saying, you know, we're all human, let's just have a good night.
Yeah, well, it's because it's real.
Yeah, very
It's
real.
real. It's, and for too long, we were inundated with what the radio told you you had to listen to.
Yeah,
And it became a sort of, that was just the way it is. And I think the media outlets have changed.
Yeah.
Spotify and iTunes and all of the digital outlets are making it more accessible for the smaller independent artists, the local guys. You can see your local musician on Spotify.
Yeah.
You didn't used to be able to hear your local band
anywhere.
on Q107.
No.
That didn't happen. They had to be put out by the radio, by the record producers. That has changed, and I think that's good. I think more people have the opportunity to be on a larger scale, but still connected to home.
Yeah,
And I think, personally, I think our local communities, especially the areas around where we are,
yeah,
really like to see their local boys and girls on the stage.
Yeah.
And I think it's a very supporting community who will go out and see a band. You know, they'll go, if you're playing on a stage somewhere, if it's in Keswick or Sutton or anywhere close by, your friends will go and see you. And I find that brings a lot to
the table.
to the table, absolutely.
Because restaurants need to sell their food everywhere.
Yeah.
So it's like,
It's a two-way street. I mean, the venue has to support the artist.
yeah,
You know, everybody needs to get reimbursed in some manner for what they do. I mean, it's only fair.
Yeah.
But it's also good that local guys can bring their local friends, and that helps the venue,
Sure.
right? Everybody wins, right?
yeah, you have to be a good restaurant or you're not gonna have people. no matter what happens.
You know what, everything is like this, everything's intertwined, and, you know,
Yeah.
it takes one to make the other work. You can't do anything on your own, I mean, nothing is independent, so as I say, the stages and the venues and the bar managers have to work hand in hand, as do the artists,
Yeah.
with everybody who's involved, and, you know, it goes a long way to building a community as well, because the local bar, the local venue, the local stage, whether it's a performance barn or it's stage at the community center, or it's a local legion, or the local pub, everybody has to be involved in the community.
Yeah, the open mics are like, they're like the real catalysts. They're like the seed, the garden for all of that, you know, it's so much stuff has sprung up in the recent years, events, where a whole bunch of guys that just started at open mics 2 years ago, and they're putting sets of events together that, have a lot of wicked musicians,
Yeah.
like, incredible, there's too many to mention, but, I guess what before I get to the other issue that I wanted to talk about today, I just want to talk a little bit more about, so your background in music.
My background, well, I started as a very young guy as a club DJ.
Oh, yeah.
I worked at places like Fitzgerald's in Newmarket and O'Toole's,
Oh, yeah.
a couple places in Aurora and Richmond Hill as well, as a Thursday, Friday, Saturday night DJ for dance clubs.
So you've always loved to make people dance and laugh and have a good time.
Grew up loving the music. I banged on the old piano we had, and Never really took any lessons of any sort. I took the stage as a young child at our local church in Mount Albert a couple of times with accordion and stuff like that. And again, not knowing anything, just being a kid who wanted to play music.
Yeah.
And then, of course, life took over, and that all ended, and off to growing up as a young man. I didn't have the opportunity anymore for that. So I retired from, sort of gave up music after working in the club season.
Yeah.
And later on, I was in my 30s, decided to go back into music and became a wedding DJ and entertainment provider for live events and local baseball clubs and whatever needed a party. I was a music. That's me beeping. So I'm always beeping.
That's fine.
So I did fairly good business as a wedding DJ. Made lots of money, made lots of friends, and through that developed a desire to start getting back into live music. Nice. And about 15 years ago, I decided, well, I'm going to start playing instruments again. So, I dug out an old electronic keyboard, started playing on that for a while.
Yeah.
I went and bought a bass and figured, okay, I should learn a stringed instrument, and started playing that. And then I went to tenor guitar, banjo, mandolin stuff, and sort of that's where that all came from.
So you can't pick up any instrument without trying to path out some kind of a song out of it, yeah?
I'm very lucky. I have a good ear for music. I do understand theory because I went and learned it. I had to learn it because I just wanted to know. And I believe that you've got to start with basics before you can just start playing.
Sure.
Even though I play by ear, I also know theory. And I think that's important for anybody who's learning to understand what they're doing, why what they're doing works. I think that's important.
Yeah, I've always done by ear, and then I write out of my head, like I do. But I have a son who never took lessons in his life, but he loves classical music.
Right.
And he literally can play Mozart, Beethoven, like properly on the piano.
Right.
That's how much he loved it. And he learned, how he learned music was music classes at school, how to read the music. And then he figured out the top clef is the left hand, the bottom, I think it is. And so he would learn, and then he would learn the Suzuki method. Because he had a cousin that was taking so they said, oh no, learn the left separate, learn the right separate. Then just start playing them together, and you will, and you do. I've done it a couple of times. I don't have the patience for that. Classical music.
You know what? There's something to be said for all types of music, and I love all music. It doesn't matter whether it's Western civilization or Eastern civilization. I mean, there's a lot of different cultures in music.
It's amazing.
And each has its own
favorite song.
Well, not favorite song, but its own feeling. Again, Western music and theory behind Western music is different than it is in the East, in the Middle East. They approach music differently. However, music is music. It all has a sound.
I was just thinking about some
It's
marketplace, some market in Iran or Iraq or in Europe somewhere where somebody's playing something totally different, but all the guys are having a drink and the women are having a laugh and they're all, and they're doing the same thing we're doing,
It's music is music.
Yeah.
It's the voice of the soul.
Someday we'll write the song and we'll all just sit down and listen to it and give everything else the hell with it.
Absolutely.
That's my altruistic goal. Just so we're really caring for my own particular evolution of music, as far as I'm concerned, is Mozart, Al Jolson, Bob Dylan. Like that's the whole line for me.
Right.
Yeah, so I love it all. And I have a connection with there's an association called UNIAC in Cuba. It's a union of writers and artists, and they host a classical guitar contest every year, and I take down a $1,000 golden guitar and I give it to the winner, and it's juveniles. I get 3 of them now so far, and trust me, it's a small price to pay to support if you can do it, you do it. And if,
Right.
if I couldn't do it, they would understand that too. And someday I won't be able to do it anymore. But and to see these kids, 12 to 15, and just incredible, impeccable music is just their dedication and their desire. It's just off the charts. I just have so much. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be part of their journey. You know, so I love. And I'm not a big classical music guy, but that's a good segue because the group that I was talking about, Bouquet,
Yes.
I'm not a rock and roll guy. I'm a Bob Dylan guy. But I know good music when I hear it.
Yeah.
And the first thing I said to Ivy, that's the lead singer, and he's been in Bouquet forever, him and Pablo, the lead player. And I remember I went to see them because Hamlet, who was a real good guitar player who helped me with some of my music, said, "Oh, come, we're going to see this band." And I watched them, and I thought, "Oh my God, they're incredible. They're incredibly tight. They're dedicated to their craft." And when I ran into him, I was introduced to him, and I said, "Well, the only thing I can tell you is, I'm not a big rock and roll fan, but I know good music when I hear it, and it's incredible. You guys are tight and incredible." And him and I have been dear friends ever since. That's like 7 years ago. Yeah. So, any groups that you want to promote lately around here? Like I see everybody. I see the Good Brothers, and I see the Curtis, and I see Rachel, and like all those guys because I know them from my area or whatever.
Well, there are so many
Yeah.
local groups around. A lot of them, I take pride in the fact that the open mics that I've run over the year, and originally right here at the marina, I used to do a band jam every Thursday night.
Oh, yeah.
And I am very proud that I've had a hand in a lot of the local bands coming together.
And
in
you
the first
absolutely
place.
should be. Just so,
And not because it's got anything to do with me, but the thing is because there's been an opportunity for people to meet and to interact
Part
and
of
to
the
become
journey.
friends through a very small jam space or a small open mic space or something that has been provided. It wouldn't have otherwise. It wouldn't have
your
mattered.
mother must have had the same principle my mother had because she said, one of her favorite sayings is, "Here, make yourself useful." Like, if it's not your time right now, then make yourself useful. Help somebody else.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's amazing. Like and it's a principle we can all take to heart a little bit in all aspects of life too. As far as that goes, that's the lessons that come from the music community and learning music. People are dedicated to classical music, discipline, blah blah blah. Even seat of the pants artists have to know their stuff before they get on stage. And so.
Of course. But you have to have, somebody's got to provide you a space to learn to do this in front of people. And if nobody provides a space
Yeah.
where you feel like you're in a safe environment and an accepting environment, the only opportunity you have to present in front of anybody is online. And I don't think that is the same reward as it is to be in front of a
No, it's
group of
not.
people sitting at a table.
No, not at all. I just started this, like I was 58 when I said to Paul Thomas, for decades. I used to say to Paul, I know I got one good CD. When I started, I said, I know I got one good album in me. That's how early I started saying to him. And then when I turned 58, like 9 years ago, I said, Paul, you know what? I want to start recording some stuff just to see if I can do it. And that's been this journey started with that. I won the songwriters contest with the town of Georgina. And I got lucky on some stuff, but you know what? Like as far as who hears it and like how wide of a scope of influence you have, all that stuff is wonderful. But I cannot tell you how much I've gotten out of it.
Absolutely.
Myself. Oh, it's just like my relationship with people in the music business and the support for what I do is, it's incredible. And you must get a fair bit of this. You get to watch young people
Yep.
come into their own. Nice, eh?
Yeah, I can't tell you how much of a pleasure it is for me and the feeling of accomplishment I feel
Yeah.
for seeing people like Curtis Thompson and the Brothers Good and Rachel and all of these local people being successful and
Yeah.
having a crowd follow them and having people say, hey, listen, go see this guy.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I'm proud that I've been able to provide a place for them at one point or another. I've been able to hire some of these newer artists, some of the local people who've now made a bit of a wave on the scene. And I'm happy for them that they've been able to do that.
My favorite one right now, I mean, I remember Curtis coming into his own kind of, and he did Tater Stock the first year, and then you can just tell he's in his element, he's a happy guy, hardworking farmer.
Yep.
Like, I have so much respect for, he's a decent guy.
Yep.
Who he is as a person, and the music is all a byproduct of that, you know. and-
These are all great people.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the people that I've had the opportunity to meet through open mics and jams, and I go to other people's open mics as well, and I
Yeah, no,
just
I've seen that.
absolutely love going out, you know, the Lloyd House in Mount Albert has a great open mic there. Paul is now doing one at the Grey Goat.
Yeah.
There's another one now at La Gabia on Thursday nights. Rachel's got one going on from time to time. There's a new one in Sutton. There's so many of these wonderful things going on.
2 things to check off my bucket list as it relates to music. I have to go busking in Toronto. I've never done it, I've always wanted to do it. Technically, I was busking in the gazebo in the park in St. Wales, and I had a couple show up, so I just started playing, I threw my hat down, they threw 20 pesos into it, eh? And it was a spoof, but I said, there. And then
There you've done it. You've made it.
Yeah, I
you've
posted it,
accomplished
I said to Paul Connors, yeah, there you go, Paul, I made my goal, I just been busking, and I still got the 20 pesos, by the way.
That's, you know what, that's wonderful. You know, success in music, in my opinion, doesn't mean you're on the radio, doesn't mean you're selling CDs, it doesn't mean you're on all these media sources that promote people to make money off you.
Yeah.
To me, success in music is having the courage and the ability to play in front of somebody and have a reaction from them. And it doesn't have to be a great thing, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be a star. I think the success is in the fact that you've actually played it.
Yeah, and you know what? Success in music is not much different than success in all other aspects of life.
Absolutely.
Success isn't getting your kids as many iPads as you can. Success is being there for your kids their whole life.
Yeah.
That's success.
Yeah.
Success in business is not making the most money, although we would love to make some. But if what you're doing is good work and it's producing something, you know, so there's lots of areas of life that we've spun off into crazy areas, like the people that were controlling the music business for all those decades, and you know, the money. Money's a really corrupt influence on almost everything.
It is, it is.
Yeah, so I don't want to go there because I don't want to be called a socialist. I'm a humanist. By the way,
Perfect.
just to be
Perfect.
clear, I'm a humanist. So all he is, you know, socialism, communism, you know, imperialism. I mean, I'm into alcoholism, you know, like, so. Been there for 30 years. So anyway, I wanted to mention that there's some people that are, it's just, I can't even tell you how many people I've met at your Thursday night jams that I didn't even know knew me, number one, and then they just,
Well, that's because I warned them about you.
yeah, rightfully, I come with a sticker on my forehead, you know, pre-warning, but, no, that Thursday night jam is wonderful for me, as are all the other jams I go to. They're just really supportive and so on. And so, do you have any events coming up that you're? Oh, just wanted to, one more thing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's starting to sound like Columbo. Oh yeah, one more thing. So the Gale Forest, where'd that come from?
So Gale Forest was a name that I adopted for most of my businesses based on my wife's name, Gail.
Oh, yeah.
We named our boat Gale Force
Yeah.
because it just seemed fitting. My original independent business of marine surveying was named Gale Force Marine Services. Gale Force Music was basically at the same time, which was when I started with the DJ business,
Yeah.
going back into wedding DJing and stuff like that. So the meaning in the name is, of course, based on my wife Gail.
Not unlike the Gale that I wrote, Gale Force, Mike Ship Sails and Gale
Yes.
Force Winds.
Yes.
So your wife has the same designation as Mike's Gail.
Yes, absolutely, driving force.
So you can play my song for your wife and tell her,
It's all.
this is
those-
you.
Yeah,
just so
absolutely,
you know.
absolutely.
And the lessons in that song really are about life on life's terms and, sticking it out and not whining and carrying on. And if anybody knows anything about living life on life's terms, it's Mike and Gail.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Your support of them has been amazing. Everybody's support.
They are wonderful people, and when I'm so sympathetic to Gail's situation.
Yeah.
And when I see the support and the love that Mike shows,
In his face, you can just see it.
I'm just overwhelmed by that.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Just incredibly overwhelmed by it. And I was lucky enough one day, I was sitting there, and Gail, when she's in her quieter moments, and you know where she is really, she's there physically.
Yeah. She's there.
Yeah, I know,
She's
because
there.
I was sitting there one day
Yeah.
and she emerged
Yeah.
and said, "I love you, Mike."
Yeah.
And when I seen that, like I had to leave, because I had to go outside and cry a little bit, right? Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And so anyway, without, I have, same as you, I have a great admiration for the both of them.
Yes,
For the love of
absolutely.
one another, right? Okay, so who is, I don't know her very well, but I've seen her, you have parties going on at the Lions and Sun. She's a writer, I think, for what's her name? I can't remember her name. She writes. She's been out of the Newmarket crowd.
Okay, I'm not sure who
Yeah, you have a lot of people. Okay, so
there's hundreds and hundreds of.
well, she's fairly high profile in terms of politics and stuff in there too, but she's well seen on the scene, and then there she is dancing and playing music, and I was.
So, again, I'm not sure.
She was very actively involved in the Ukraine kids.
So Gail Babalapa?
Yes.
Okay.
That's her.
So she is a member of one of the bands that I'm in,
Right.
which is called Tomfoolery.
Yeah.
She's also doing some stuff on her own, and she's very active in the community as far as entertainment goes.
She's an incredibly
She's very
positive
yeah,
influence, whatever
she
she's
is
doing.
so full of life energy.
That I know.
Pleasure. She's a pleasure to have around.
Well, then you know why I brought her up right now, because I've seen her come and go, I've had some conversation, but just when you stand back and watch a whirlwind, yeah, you can admire
Yeah, well,
her.
so you never know what to expect.
No, so yeah, for sure, 100%.
Yes,
so.
and she's a lovely girl to have involved with our tomfoolery band.
Well, I've actually
Which is
seen
Sean and Dave and
I've seen
myself.
clips of your tomfoolery band,
Yeah.
and I didn't know whether you were hosting them or you were part of the band, and so you just happened to be there, or so that's your band.
No, that's I've been a member of that band since it became tomfoolery.
Yeah.
So it originally started out as a little duo between Sean and Francois
Oh, yeah.
under a different name.
Yeah, don't let me forget to mention friends.
They went on to do a couple duo gigs, and at one point invited me to come and play bass for one of their gigs.
Yeah.
At that point, Dave Holman started joining in and adding rhythm via his Cajun or
Sure.
tone or whatever
Yeah,
you call it. And that was sort of the foundation for what then brought Gail into the picture, and we played as a full band with Francois as a member of the band.
Yep.
A couple gigs. Francois at the time was involved with other stuff going on, so he backed away and left the band to do his own thing,
Right.
which he's got lots of stuff happening. But we continued on as a four-piece called
Yeah.
Tomfoolery. We're basically a fun party group, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
want to have slapstick fun and watch us come on stage in costume and play Irish music for St. Paddy's and play boat music for a marine event and play Halloween music for a Halloween
Whatever,
party.
yeah,
That's
no,
what we do.
I've watched all the different,
Yeah, we do.
themes of your different events.
We do the fun stuff.
the crazy cowboys to the,
Absolutely.
the Santa Claus and the Grinch or whatever, Yeah, no, I have a lot of respect for all of that. So that's where her involvement comes from.
That's where Gail's involved.
Because I just see her come and go. You know me, I watch the environment around me at all times. I don't know why I'm environmentally driven, but I am. and I just noticed everybody and what they're doing.
Well, I originally met her, I'd seen her around for years and years at all the different, festivals and activities going
Yeah.
on. Never actually met her until a few years ago. She happened to roll into the open mic,
Yeah.
and she came and watched a couple times, and I noticed her in the background,
Yeah.
and, said hi and introduced myself, and, she the same. And eventually she came and said, hey, can I play a couple songs? And from there,
What's your name?
from there, she met more people with our group,
Yeah.
and became involved in our little scene there as well. And from there, it just opened doors for new things. And
You know what, I gotta, your ability to maneuver through personalities, divas, cliques, and keep it mixed up and keep it real is pretty astounding, really, because I've watched over the last couple of years, certain things will happen, like John Hall and them, they're late getting there, but they have to leave, play early, like that sort of thing. Other people like them as well, not just them, where you'll try to accommodate and get them out early, and then, poor me, I'm totally able-bodied, I can show up whenever I want, and I live alone, and I'm whining because you're like, and that, and so my concerns are real, and then you have to deal with that. And so I kind of, so I've always said, do whatever you need to do, and so on. So, but you really managed to avoid cliques developing, so that it just doesn't become a one-clique group of people that are doing it. There's lots of people that come into the main part and leave on about their business and so on. I've watched that over the last couple of years. And so that's to your credit, that you keep it.
well, it's important that everybody feel included and involved. And a lot of people, whatever reason they are there,
Yeah.
isn't always the same reason that the other people are there. And it's important that you recognize the fact that everybody has their own independent and individual needs. My job, being host, is to try and round the edges so that everybody can sort of fit with each other at the same time without getting into conflict over time and about conflict about favoritism, and we don't need that in that
No, I know,
environment.
but
And
it's-
I hope that I try to
No, you
keep that at bay. I try to.
I'm 67 years old, and I've seen a lot. Trust me, you do a real good job of that, and it's to your credit, because it keeps it all light and keeps it all on the same.
I want everybody to enjoy whatever
Yeah,
time they have there. If it's a
100%.
short period of time, I want them to enjoy that. If it's a long period of time, all evening, I want them to enjoy the whole evening. I
Yeah.
want everybody who's there to enjoy
Yeah,
this.
that's the whole purpose of it.
There are so many different ways that gets dealt with,
Yeah.
and none of that is really the concern of the people there. That's not their issue. They don't need to be responsible for that.
There's a couple of shout-outs I wanted to give out today. One is Wayne, he won that songwriters contest.
Absolutely, yes.
That guy's actually an amazing singer, and he plays wicked guitar. And,
He's
uh,
he's
an
a
entertainer.
very well-rounded musician. His writing skills are great, his guitar skills are great. I find it to be quite a pleasure and an honor when he asks me to come and play with him.
Yeah, I imagine.
You know,
Like,
I'm- I'm tickled when he shows up, because he's one of the people who helped make it what it is, along with everybody else there. Everybody who shows up to any of these open mics,
Yeah.
whether it's mine or anybody else's, they all contribute to
People
making.
like Curtis and
the
Rainey,
evening.
for example,
Yeah.
I show up, like, when I started, I'm telling you, I was terrified in front of that mic, just barely getting through what I was getting through. And you know Russ, he's a wicked guitar player, he was with, he played with the
Oh,
Assassins.
Russ Edwards.
What's his last name?
Edwards.
Yeah, I think so. Anyway, he's in Toronto.
He's down in Toronto.
He's a Toronto guy. Yeah, he plays at, the big, what's the big one on, College Street there?
Yeah, I
I
can't
used to go there
remember.
when I lived in Toronto. So-
No, it's not my
But
area,
Russell,
so.
I consider lifers. Russell's a lifer for the
Yeah.
music. So is, Al Sayre.
Yeah.
He's been, he's a lifer. And one of the first open mics I went to was up at the Arms. And they were doing it every Thursday night or whatever night they were doing it. And I went up and they just supported me,
Absolutely.
like in terms of, and they supported me in the right way. You know, if you haven't got something good to say, don't say anything at all. And so they recognize that I'm a lyrics guy. That's my thing. You know, lyrics and melodies. And I'll tell you, lyrics and melodies are lovely, but without the musicians, they're nothing.
Right.
It's the musicians that elevate any song, you know, like, so I just give my stuff to the musicians, and they say, well, what do you want me to do with this? No, that's your job. That's what you do, that's what you love to do. And if you do that, and you literally let go of it to let them do that, and then you work on it when it comes back, and usually it comes back amazing, that's people that you love, doing what they love, in support of what you love. Like, how could it get better than that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so to make a long story even longer, Russell and all the guys like that have supported me since day one, that means a lot. You know, I'll never forget that.
Yeah. You know what? Support from the people in your circles
Yeah.
is what makes having friends worthwhile.
Yeah,
I can't imagine what my life would be without all the friends that I've made through different circles. I'm in a number of different circles. The marine industry is one group of people. I've made great friends there. The music industry, though, is probably my biggest group of friends. They're the ones that I spend most of my time with when I'm not working.
right.
I've had the pleasure of becoming part of a number of bands through connections made at open mics and at different events.
Yeah.
The band, one of the bands that I'm in right now, called Sugar Ranch,
Yeah.
a group of 4 people, myself and 3 other people, met at Kitchen Fest.
Oh, nice. Like Chris Bowers,
Yeah,
you know what?
Christopher
I love those
Bowers,
guys.
another great musical.
Incredible human being.
Yeah, absolutely.
Music and Friends, that song, his song Music and Friends.
Yeah.
It epitomizes for me. Yeah, I play it actually at home every once in a while, just, they played it at Kitchen Fest.
Yeah, again, so that circle of friends is what was a formation of Sugar Ranch, which is, it's a fairly new band on the scene, where we've had a very successful debut gig.
Yeah.
There are 4 of us who write, so we are doing lots of original material.
Yeah.
And we're pretty good at coming up with a good approach to stuff. So
Yeah.
that's, one group of friends who wouldn't have come together without music.
And help you hone your craft. And
Sean Murphy and I.
Sean is
which
amazing. Like,
we go by the name of Wild Cards.
He
And
is
that's
a wild
because, again, because neither one of us know what to expect from each other half the time.
yeah, well, but
And
see,
we'll bring additions in.
that guy is
whenever.
more seat of the pants than
Yeah.
anybody I've ever met when it comes to music. But he does it. You know who's like that too? Is, I don't know if you know Ryan Boyd.
Yeah,
I go there Thursdays now. I've been going there for like quite some time. I just want to play my songs. He does a lead work, and then intuitively, never heard it before, and he just starts doing lead
Yep.
work. And so now I do a song every week, and I introduce the song, and I split screen him and me, and like I said, his work supports what I'm doing,
yeah.
and it makes the whole thing interesting, And
You know what?
the
There's
three of those, Sammy, George, and him. I went to see him at the Orchard.
Atlas.
The
That's the
beach,
name,
the
yeah,
beach
that's-
pub now.
yeah.
Whatever, the beach, pub by the lake, whatever they call it now. Forgive me, but I did a nice advertisement for them when I published it, so they'll forgive me. So, but when I showed up, I was waiting to see how they were, and you know what? They were tight. And I told Ryan on Thursday when I was there, you know what? That is an absolute profession. People show up to be entertained. They don't want somebody who's learning up there. They don't want somebody, like open mics are different, but when it's and they're a tight band, they delivered a hell of a show, to their credit.
Absolutely.
I love supporting those guys. And the only thing the problem I have with them is they don't do drugs, they don't party endlessly, and show up on time, what the hell, and they call
That's no
themselves
fun.
musicians.
That's no fun.
No, what the hell's that all about? They call
Well,
themselves
that's the whole new musician style now.
Yeah.
Where you're a good boy, right, or a good girl.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, we don't know how to deal with that.
Yeah, what the
We
hell's that all
don't, because
about?
we're too
Yeah.
old, right? But now these young, you
No,
know,
they're
it's so
just
wonderful.
decent kids,
It's
yeah.
so wonderful to see these younger people who are really making a contribution,
Yeah.
and they're doing all the right stuff. So it's
Incredible. And just a quick little shout out to Paul Connors, because at one time, 2 years ago, I asked him, could you please calculate how many students you've had? 10,000 in his 40-odd years.
Yeah.
And so discipline, satisfaction that comes from hard work and discipline, when you finally learn that first song, all those lessons, 10,000 people. What do you imagine his footprint is like on the planet?
It's pretty big.
Pretty damn big.
Yeah.
Okay, so that, before we wrap up here, I wanted to talk a little bit about Bouquet.
Okay.
That's the group, they're dear friends of mine, they're like family. I go to their homes and we hang out, we laugh and play a little music, and they support me and I support them. And so I'm trying to work out a quick tour for them to come to Canada for 3 or 4 weeks, a few events. We have to structure it in such a way that it's more theater oriented than bar oriented, to be careful with immigration in terms of, and we need to provide a good schedule. So I'm not sure that I can get all of this done. But I've committed a fair bit to it, and I've committed a fair bit of money just to get it done.
Right.
So that part of it will get taken care of, and we can make it happen. I've talked to a number of people like yourself, and your commitment to me, I see it this way. If we can make it happen, you'll do whatever you can do to help me do that.
Absolutely.
So that's your commitment, and I know you'll do that, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. We're gonna give it our best shot. Dana, you know Dana, Rick, are really good guys, incredibly musician. I love playing with him because he's another intuitive
He's
musician.
very, very, very talented, yes.
Yeah, so, and he said he's got PA systems and anything we need that way, or he'll do anything he can, which is great. I met with, Marshall Dane. I love that guy. He is off the wall, lunatic, a lovable lunatic. I just love him to death, and he's an incredible musician and an incredible orator. Like he orates half of his songs and then he plays them, you know. And so he's got his own style.
Absolutely.
But I love him to death. Took him a cheesecake too, just a little shout out to the cheesecake crowd there. So, and you know what? I got a hold of Grant Fullerton called me back from Lighthouse.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, and him and I have some memories from the '80s and Scamps. Actually, that's where I knew him from.
Okay.
Yeah, and so we used to party a little bit afterwards, back when I used to party. And then I remember one night his pickup blew. And I said, I have a Martin at home with a pickup, you want me to go get it? He said, could you know? So I went home, got it, and I come back, and that's a Wednesday night, you know, and he said, oh, thanks. I said, well, don't you have your gig tomorrow night at your bar down on 48? Remember we had a bar down on 48?
Yeah.
He said, yeah. I said, why don't you take it, and then I'll get it off you next week. He said, you sure? Yeah, yeah. So I've always kind of had a love of musicians and would support any way I could. So we have a little bit of history. And he called me back, and I said, look, this is what I'm trying to accomplish. A rock and roll band from Cuba, who better to be involved in that than someone who just got an award for the Walk of Fame in Canada?
Right, absolutely.
No, and he immediately said, if there's anything I can do, if my schedule will permit it, whatever, I'll help you any way I can, Tim, which was a decent, really decent. So there's some really good indicators that we will succeed. So it'll be more like scheduling, when can we get it done? And I think it will probably be next spring.
Okay.
So that's what I'm looking at. So the group is called Bouquet. Ivy and Aabo are the main, they've had the band going for like 20 odd years. And they're, and I'm going to show, when I start talking about this in this interview, I'm going to show the clip that I sent you.
Right, which was wonderful. Great.
Pretty amazing,
Really,
eh?
really good. Yeah.
Yeah, I made that the night after I went to that event, and they were all still there. And they literally, a bunch of Canadian friends of that guy that passed away,
Right.
flew down to San Pueblos, Cuba, because they wanted to meet his friends down there and find out. And we did that in his honor, you know, like, yeah. So it was, and I love doing stuff like that, like putting stuff together like that epitomizes how people feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of my fortes, and I pay attention to it, and sometimes, you know, there's something to be said for, like, we all want to be rock stars, we all want to be, you know, rich people, we all want to be whatever we want, our society tells us we should, but really, you need to be who you are and do what you do best.
And I think what we really want is to succeed at what we are.
Yeah.
Whatever small portion of the world that we're going to occupy, I think we want to be successful in that small portion.
Yep.
I don't think it's necessary that you be on the big world stage. I don't think, it's not important to me.
No.
What's important to me is that I'm successful and recognized in the group of people that I interact with.
Yep.
And you know, if they're happy with what I do and what I achieve, I'm happy. And I feel the same thing about my friends. I'm not concerned about whether or not the guy in Toronto is a big fan of my friends up here in Georgina or in East Thornbury, right?
Yeah.
They're really not important.
Yeah.
What's important to me is that the people who know you in your circles recognize you.
Yeah.
Right? And that Curtis's friends recognize him, and that George's friends recognize him. That's what's important in successful life.
Yeah, 100%. Have you done any work with Glenn Moraes?
I know Glenn. We've met a couple times,
Yeah.
different events. I don't know him personally.
I was talking to Jesse about, because Jesse's in his band, and I got Jesse's permission to tell him to check with Jesse, and you'll find out I'm not a lunatic. You know, like, that's the ticket when you're, like, if you have somebody who will introduce you to somebody, they're not making any commitment, they're not supporting what you're doing, they're just, okay, this is a decent guy, so
Right.
make your own decisions from there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's all.
I think Glenn would be a really good person to speak to about this, because he is one of the biggest promoters of our local community.
He sure is. He sure
in
is.
the area, and him along with Jesse and Ryan from the arts as well.
Yeah.
I know Jesse and Ryan both from the arts, who
Yeah.
are, of course, associated with Glenn as well.
Yeah.
And Glenn is a huge supporter of community.
Yeah, he is.
And local art. So for him to be on your side for something like this
Yeah.
would be just a wonderful asset.
Here's the ticket, so, if we get the support of that crowd, like a solid support of better known musicians and better known people, and then that legitimizes what we do.
Absolutely.
So then I can identify the Stephen Leacock Center as there's a, you know, theater in different towns, or that festival that's gonna go on in the spring, that they could invite the bands. So we'll work on how to structure it all.
Absolutely.
Okay, so, I have to give a quick shout out if you don't mind. This is my San Fuego shirt. It was given to me by the mother and father of Maria Carla. She won the second golden guitar that I took down. It's just a sweet kid, and I'm so jealous of how good she is on the guitar. It ain't funny. It's so hard to love and support these people that you're so jealous of it. But it's part of the whole thing. It's part of dealing with yourself. And I'm kidding when I say jealous. Who wouldn't want to play, you know, as good as Eric Clapton?
Of course.
Yeah. So we'll get back to the Boquette stuff in the near future. Like, as I'm working along, I'll keep you apprised.
I
And then-
look forward to trying to contribute whatever I can, as little or as much as possible.
Well, and I appreciate that. And everybody's had the same response. So if you can, I'm going to step into your screen. How's that?
All right.
Thanks, Perry.
Thank you, Tim.
So
It's a
much.
pleasure talking to you.
Say goodbye to everybody.
See you guys on the stage.
See you guys. If I see you on the street, be nice, eh?